Let me hit record. Okay. Thank you guys and welcome to our TLC weekly Emerald call. I'm excited for you to be here and learn from another rising coach on the team and what is working for her. She is currently a diamond coach. She's hit Success Club 10 for 21 months straight since starting. Pretty amazing. And I asked her, she said the highest Success Club she's ever earned was 26. Is that right, Sarah? All right. So she is working on 2-star currently, and she is hoping to end 2019 as an elite coach. So she's kind of got an awesome team growing. So we're excited to have you share some more about what is working for you, Sarah. So when you're ready, unmute and we'll kick this off.
Thank you very much. I'm very flattered to be asked to talk here because I just want all of you to know that I am a diamond coach, but I'm in the trenches with all of you doing all of the basics. So there's really not much that separates me from everyone here. I don't think that we're actually separated. It's more of just, okay, let me go back a little bit. So first of all, I've been a coach almost 2 years. In the end of March, it'll be 2 years. I hit diamond in my first 60 days, and that's because I built my spouse account and my mom's account. And that was great, but I hit diamond, held it for 6 weeks, and then fell and gained it back and fell and gained it back for months and months. And in the summer last year, I decided that I was going to figure out what I needed to do to get to the next level because I knew I didn't want to keep rising and falling. I wanted to be solid, and I wanted to make this my full-time job. I'm a nurse. I am working still as a nurse part-time, but when I started 2 years ago, I was working 2 jobs as a nurse, rotating shifts, days and nights, and I don't want to live that life forever. So that's my number 1 reason why is to retire from nursing. My number 2 reason for why is because my husband is a carpenter and he works really, really hard. We live in Vermont. It's cold out in the winter and it's hot out in the summer. And he's literally exhausted all the time. So he's my number 2 reason. And I would say that's probably actually 1A because he's just as important to me as my own goals are for my career. And then I hit diamond in the first 60 days. And then last summer I was like, I really need to make a mindset shift. I need to figure out who I need to become in order to get to that next level. My husband and my mom's account all the time. It just isn't feasible for me, especially working outside of my home also. Show them that they can lead also. And so I just put in some self-work last summer. I read the book, A Tribe Called Bliss by Lori Harder. And it's about breaking through superficial relationships, which can happen all the time online. And I think that is one of the hardest parts about building other leaders up is finding them because, you're posting a highlight reel as much as we like to say we're not. We all post a highlight reel for the most part. And so people are attracted to that highlight reel. But then when they get into the business, they're like, well, but you really have to work. And yes, you really actually have to work. It's a job. If you really want it, you'll make the time. So when I started that book last summer, one of the things that I also read, I was like, or I think I saw it in a training on the Beachbody Champions page, which you guys, I am a freak about watching trainings. Like I watch trainings from 2000 whatever. And whenever I have extra time, I dive into things. If I think I need to work on a certain area in my business, I Google, I go to YouTube University, I ask Anita or my coach, Laura or Leslie or anyone that I find that's at that level or doing something really well, I research the heck out of it. So don't be afraid to do that. And basically the training on Beachbody Champions page, which is still up there, was a coach who was, I can't remember her name at the moment, but she said, you need to act like the rank you want to be. And so I took that literally. And I was like, if I want to be a Star Diamond coach and elite coach, I need to start acting like one right now. And so that was my mindset shift. And part of what elite coaches do is they invite the heck out of people. They follow up the heck out of people all the time. And I was doing the minimums on my business activity tracker, which I was using the old one. I just switched over to using the new one now, and it's been really awesome. It's shown me where I was lacking, even though I thought I was working really hard. And it's also stopped me from scrolling a lot, because I was like, I'm a scroller. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm a scroller. So I'm like, oh, I got to go get back to my check boxes. So that's been working really well for me. But I just went really hard. So in September, I think, is when I was like, I told my husband, I am going to invite at least 30 people a day. And he was like, okay, and he kind of gave me the eyebrow lift, because he knows how busy we are. And I was always complaining that I couldn't find people to invite. I didn't know how to find new people all the time. But I had told myself, by reading the book and figuring out what I needed to do, I need to be more consistent with my stories. And I needed to make sure that I was posting about the business, which is something I did not do for my entire first year. I was always just trying to recruit people for the weight loss journey or the fitness journey. And so I had to change that. So I jumped in really hard on starting to post about the wins that I had in the business, which, you guys, I know we all want to post these big income progressions, like thousands and tens of thousands, and show our mansion houses, but we don't all have that. And maybe that's our goal. But I started talking about how I paid for my groceries. That was a huge one for people. They were like, oh my God, that's such a big bill. And I was like, I know, but isn't it great that my little side hustle is paying for my groceries? And then I also started talking about the community a lot. So every time I have a call with my coaches, I have about 5 working coaches that I work with closely. And even if only one of them shows up to the meeting, I still post about it, and it's still fun. And I post about that. And just my posts overall were gearing more towards the business. I can bring every single post I have back to Beachbody in some way, because I'm consuming my life with it, because this is what I want. So that's those are some of the major changes that I made. In September, I did invite an average of 30 people a day. And when I say invite, I think a lot of us think of an invitation as basically just sending a message saying, hey, join my challenge group, or hey, join my coach team. I don't consider that is an invite for sure, but I consider an invite making a connection and getting into a conversation with somebody about their goals. So if I'm engaging in a conversation with somebody, and it's moving towards talking about what I'm doing and what they need, and if I can help them, I consider that an invite, and I write it down on my paper. So I don't have to exactly say, hey, join my boot camp, and then those are the only people I write down on my paper. And I'm using the notebook method too. I don't know if you guys have watched that training by Kate Leslie, who was that? Kate Schultz or Kate Morgan or something like that. She did the notebook method training, and that's been awesome for me. I'm a paper and pen person. And so what I do is, after I make contact with them and send an indirect invite to them, I write down their name on a piece of paper. It looks like this. This is one day. This is the next day. As soon as they answer me back, I circle their name, because I've landed contact with them. So once they have a circle on their name, that is a key in to me that I'm going to follow up with them on my follow-up day. And so I do 2 invitation days and then a follow-up day, 2 invitation days and a follow-up day. And I do that because I work in pockets of time, because like I said, I'm a nurse, I work still, so I don't have 6 hours or 2 hours even to sit down all the time and hit all of every single one of the vital behaviors. But so I alternate. So once I circle their name, they're on my follow-up list. I put little sticky notes in my notebook to go back to that person on Wednesday, whenever my follow-up day is. And if you guys haven't watched that training by Kate Morgan, you should scroll back and find that because it was really, really helpful. And it's in the TLC page, I think it is. So those are a couple of the ways that I've been inviting. And I've just amped up my numbers because it really is about numbers when you want more Success Club points. I want to touch a little bit on the quality of invitations that I'm doing and also finding coach leads. I got over myself when it came to inviting to the business. I was really, really scared to invite people to the business for a while. Well, probably almost the first year of my being a coach. And I was scared because I didn't know if I would be able to lead them. I still was didn't know what I was doing all the time. So I was like, how can I invite someone to join the coach opportunity if I don't even know exactly what I'm doing all the time and I haven't gotten to the level where I'm going? But you guys have to get over that because the only way to get to where you're going is to get over fears. And if you're asking people to jump in with you and be vulnerable, you need to put yourself out there and get uncomfortable. And I know you're going to hear that a lot. You've probably heard that a lot, but it's so, so true. And so when I actually was like, I'm just going to get over myself because if I really want this, I have to go all in because I thought I was all in before. And those are the changes that I made. And ever since September, I have been at Success Club 20 plus, and I have some great coaches on my team that are killing it in their businesses too. And I literally just hand them my toolbox. I work really closely with them. I don't think I'm hand holding, but I am reaching out to them constantly. I'm developing friendships with them. Some of them I knew prior to this, but others I didn't. And so, making sure that you're building a close relationship with these people. These are the people you're going to be working with. And if you want them to stay around and you want to build these real relationships, you really have to put in the work. So let me just check my notes. Sorry, I'm a paper and pen person, so I have to make sure that I'm hitting all my things because I don't want to miss anything. So one thing I forgot to say. So I have in my lifetime reached 2 other big goals besides the goals that I have in my Beachbody business. One of them was when I was in college, I was a runner on the track team, and I actually played basketball growing up, so I was never on the track team in high school. But when I got to college, the girls' basketball team was far better than I was ever going to make. So I started running, and the track team, I don't know if you guys know much about track, but a lot of times in track, you can just join if you want to run. So I was like, you know what? I think I want this. So I went to the coach and started talking to him, and he was like, yeah, sure, you can train with us for the year, and maybe next year you can join a race. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. That day I was like, I will race this year. And so I put that in my mindset, and I told the coach a couple weeks later what my mindset was. And he said, well, if you really want to race and you really want to make it to a high level, you're going to have to out train every single person that you go up against because you've never done this before. So I take that into consideration in my coach business too. 4 years later, I did make it to nationals. I was one of the top runners in the country. And so I take that same mindset in coaching, and I had to remind myself of that over the summer. If you want this, you need to outwork everyone. And I don't mean it in a competitive way. What I mean is you have to be willing to work harder than everyone else to get to the level you want if you want to be a top coach. And I've been taking that mindset since September, and I'm not letting up on it. That's what I'm going for. And I think that was probably the biggest mindset shift that I had since starting my coaching business. So that's basically it. And I know that Anita wanted me to talk about my growth on my Instagram. So I can tell you a few tips that I've been using. I invite mostly from my stories. And that's because they're always changing. I'm always tagging different things. And so there's a lot of variety of people in there. So I enjoy inviting from my stories mostly. A few things that I have learned is in Instagram, when you are hashtagging, you want to, in your stories, hashtag more broadly, and you'll get a wider view of people viewing your stories. In your posts on Instagram, you want to pick hashtags that are smaller in following, and that allows your post to be seen on that page, and then you will have people follow you from that. Facebook, I hardly get any likes on my posts on Facebook, but in my stories, I get hundreds of views just by posting and then adding that post directly to my story. So people are still seeing my post, it's just through my stories. And I think that's just really a matter of people are watching stories more often than they are scrolling through people's posts. So those are two ways that I've really pumped up my way to find people to invite. And another thing is just consistency. So I have a fear of going live. These, like, even in this setting, I feel a little more comfortable in this setting because I know a lot of your faces and I talk to you a lot, but going live terrifies me. It gives me sweaty armpits. And like, I just stumble over my words. I feel like I don't have anything to say, but I've been really working on that this year. And like I said, if you want people to join you and get out of their comfort zones, you really have to work on getting out of your own. And so although I don't go live every day, I have done it at least a couple times a week. I just did it in my stories today. So I was like, if I'm going to talk about this today, I need to go do that in my stories right now so that I can talk about it. But those are my biggest tips for how I've been inviting. And I used light growers to start growing more fast, which I really like, and then the 5-3-1 method. And I really love the 5-3-1 method because I feel like it allows you to develop relationships with people, which is what's really important. There's all kinds of services out there for Instagram growth. I think that they're great if you use them correctly, but one thing I just want to remind you guys of is don't look for less work. It's still a lot of work if you want to be a top coach. And if you want to be a star diamond coach, you still have to be willing to put the work in. So I love the 5-3-1 method because of that. I still have to engage with people. It's not taking me out of it. And so then I know who I'm looking for and who I'm talking to, which I think has been really, really important in finding the people I'm looking for.
Hey, Sarah, I have a question. So how often are you going live? Like once or twice or more a week? Because I feel like that's my frog. And then are you only doing that on Instagram?
For the most part, yes. I don't do Facebook Live. I'm trying to transition over to Instagram. My business up to this point has been 80% Facebook through Messenger and posts and stories. And so I think since September, I'm probably moving towards 60-40. And I want to be more on the 80% Instagram. I like Instagram better. I think that there's more room for growth there. And I think it's becoming a lot more popular. So I would say that I'm going live or using my voice in stories. I also consider live, even though you can edit it. But probably at least twice a week I go for. And so my work schedule right now, I work 1 week and then I have a week off. And so I would say in my week off, I shoot for a lot more live stuff because I have time to think about it. And then on my work week, I just do it as much as I can. Sometimes that means none.
Okay, so someone else asked, what do you go live about? Like, how do you figure out your topics?
Yeah, so that's one of the hardest parts for me, but I have started talking about my boot camps when I go live. I also talk about curly hair a lot because I have, when I was like struggling with trying to figure out what my brand was and getting away from attracting all Beachbody coaches, I had to dig in a little bit deeper, if you will, but my curly hair, it doesn't seem that deep, right? But I am pretty basic. So all the things that a lot of other Beachbody coaches like, I also like, like fitness, leggings, Trader Joe's, whatever, like I'm super basic when it comes to stuff like that. So I started looking for different avenues to follow, and I get a ton of messages about my hair every week, even if it's a fitness post, which kind of annoys me sometimes. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, because I do these great moves, I feel, and then they're like, what do you put in your hair? I'm like, wait, don't you even care about like that I just did this really cool plank move? And they're like, no, I just really want to know what's in your hair. So I was like, well, I guess like I should just start opening up about what's in my hair. And so that's like totally led me down another path for finding people that I like to talk to. And so I talk about my hair on live sometimes, and my dogs, and we are remodeling our house. So sometimes I ask for help on that, even though I don't always like the help that I get, but I still ask for it. And so those are things like I'm just as like I'm super basic, you guys. And Samantha Penkoff, or Holly Penkoff, she helped me with that one day because I was like, you're so good at going live. I was like, I'm so basic. She's like, be basic. It's awesome. Just be basic. And I was like, okay, great. Just that easy. Like all I have to do is just be basic like myself. And it really is true once you accept that. And I'm not saying all of you are basic. I'm sure many of you are not basic at all. But if you are, it's okay. Like just be okay with it and look for simple things like if you have curly hair, or if you have red hair, or if you have tattoos, or anything. I also use gel nails. I get my nails done all the time. So I talk to people about nails a lot, and I hashtag that in my stories a lot. Stuff like that. Who's next? Questions?
Someone else asked if you use Instagram TV.
Not really, not yet. I think I should probably get into that, but still working on the live thing. So one of the things I also have been working on is I'm a perfectionist. So I get nervous to do things that I am not great at yet. So since I'm not great at lives yet, I've been hesitant to move into IGTV. But I'm sure that that's going to be coming down the line, and I'll work on it as I get better at being live.
Okay, so I have a question because I invite a lot through my stories, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. For those that are getting like not a lot of story views, like maybe they're only getting like 100 or 200 story views, and they feel like they're running out of people to talk to. And I don't know if you've ever encountered that, but like beyond hashtagging stories, like was there anything else like when you were trying to get your 30 invites in that you were like, okay, I need to go like somewhere else? Or were you ever going to like the people that were following you, or that liked a photo, or like just another avenue to find people?
I think one thing I forgot to tell you earlier is I prime my stories too. So I watch other people's stories before I start posting. And okay, so this is going to sound a little shady, but what I do sometimes when I'm busy getting ready for work in the morning after my workout is I just turn my stories on, and I have my phone so that it doesn't go silent or whatever. When your phone shuts off, the face shuts off and everything stops. I turn that on so that it never goes off, and then I get in the shower and I have my stories running. So I might not actually be watching them all, but they're playing through, and that's a good way to prime your stories, because if you're watching stories, then that puts you in the feed up at the top closer to the front. So yeah, sorry, I don't mean to be shady, but sometimes I don't have all the time in the world to watch stories. So that's one of the tactics I use for priming people to watch my story. And I would say also, you have to be consistent in everything in this business. Like the tasks are simple, but the consistency is hard for everyone. So just being consistent and posting in them. One of the other thing, I hope you guys are all location tagging. That's a big thing. But one of the other things that I've noticed, I don't know if you've ever hashtagged something in a story and then actually gone to that hashtag in Instagram and see if your story is popping up in their stories. If you haven't done that, you should. And I didn't do that for a while. It didn't even occur to me to go look at the things that I was hashtagging in my stories on their stories to see if I was popping up there. And one of the things that I noticed is that if you hide the hashtags, which is something that I always used to do in my stories because I thought it looked a little tacky, you typically will not show up in the story of the hashtag. So you have to, it's a marketing thing. So if you are saying, like, nurses of Instagram is a huge tag. Lots of people use it. I use it. If I hide that tag, nurses of Instagram doesn't need my story. So they'll be like, man, no. So if I have it showing, they're like, oh, that's great marketing for us. So they put me in the story. So that's one thing that I found to be really important. And then same thing with locations. I just play around with locations. I actually have this weird thing that I'm trying to manifest places that I want to go. So I just start hashtagging places that I want to go. Or not hashtagging, excuse me, geotagging places that I want to go. And that's like, I don't know if it's actually helping me a lot, but mentally it helps me feel like I'm getting closer to, like Vancouver. Like I really want to go there. So I tag that a lot. And so that might just be like a weird me thing, but I would try it if I were you, because I feel like that's all part of visualizing your dream and, things like that. So.
Okay, one last question maybe since it's almost 12:30. Okay, so when you're inviting, how do you decide between who you're inviting for a challenge group or as a coach, or do you just invite everyone as a challenger and then as the conversation rolls on, you mention coaching to them?
So it's a really good question. And I think that I talked about this with my team a couple weeks ago. So I used to invite everybody as a challenger. But because I wanted to shift into becoming a leader of a team, I now separate the two. So if somebody contacts me or answers my poll about my boot camp, then they get the boot camp invite. If I find somebody who's either on a fitness journey that I don't think is Beachbody, or someone who's got curly hair that I'm just really vibing with, or any of the ways that you find people that you want to work with, then I have no fear to invite them to the business. This has changed my life. So how I look at it is that I have the opportunity to share something that will change their lives. And that's what's helped me get over the fear of inviting to the business. And, when people give you price objections or say, oh my God, why do you have to pay for it if you're a coach? Well, first of all, you're starting your own business. And second of all, you basically can't start your own business for any cheaper than this and have the kind of income potential that this has. So I talk about that. I'm honest with people. I don't tell people that it takes no work. I also tell them that I've been working full-time while building my business and doing so successfully, so it can be done. And I'm constantly adding to my network. I think I told Anita this morning. There's one thing that she said in the second month of my business that I never ever forgot, because she said it and it like scared me. So, and not that she's scary. She's actually really awesome. But she said, if you're not adding to your network every day, I know, Eric, I get it. Yeah. So if you're not adding to your network every day, then your business is dying. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot let that happen. I'm only 2 months in. And so I have never forgotten that. And you guys, I add to my network on Facebook or Instagram while I'm peeing at work, while I am, letting the dogs outside in the backyard. Every single moment that I have, Facebook makes it super easy. Suggested friends, like it takes me about 2 seconds to evaluate whether or not I want to invite them to be my friend. Whether I want to invite them to the business or a challenge group, that's different. But adding to your network, because if you don't invite them or friend request them, you may never know. So Facebook makes it super easy. Instagram's a little more difficult, but 531ing, looking by location, looking under hashtags. I mean, I just scroll the first top 9 posts, and if I don't find anything in there, either a post that I want to look at and see the comments and see if there's anyone there that I want to start following or touch base with, then I just move on to the next. I don't spend a ton of time on it. I spend more time in building the relationships once we get there.
Okay, a last question here. Looks like just a little aside. Do you send people private Facebook messages? I'm not sure if Heather means like an invite or just like a connection on Facebook when you send them a friend request.
Nope. I don't do cold inviting. I feel weird about it. And also, I myself didn't accept cold inviting. So that's, I try to talk to people the way that I want to be talked to or wanted to be talked to. And it's worked for me. So what I do is, obviously I don't know everybody that I add to my network, but I go from cold and try to make them lukewarm. And then I will then start sending invites to them. So how I do that is if I'm really interested in someone, either for a boot camp, challenge group, or coaching, I just start engaging with their page genuinely and watching their stories and figuring out about them. And that's how I decide whether or not I send them a message. Same thing with likes on my posts. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, she clarified a little bit. She said, do you send them a private message when you send them the friend request? Like
initially, no. That's why I try, if I'm really interested in someone, or once they accept my friendship, then I'll go to their page and start engaging. I don't do the friend request and say, hey, I just friend requested you, because that to me, I immediately am like, reject myself. So that's why I don't do it. And if it works for you, go for it. But it does not work for me. It doesn't work on me. So no, I don't send a message every person I friend request.
Okay. And then someone wanted a little clarification. So when you go to, they're not sure if you meant Facebook or Instagram. When you go to the first 9, I think you said first 9 posts, and you look to see if there's anyone you want to add to your network.
Yeah. So say I go to Curly Girls of Instagram and I'm looking for some coach prospects today. Then I go to that hashtag and I quickly look at the top 9 on Instagram, the top 9 posts. And if there's one that catches my eye there, I'll go to that post and then look at the comments, check out their following, and look for people that way. Facebook's a little different. Facebook, if they have a great profile picture, they'll probably get a friend request. And then I'll go, once they accept it, check out their page. And then if I like what I see, I start engaging and make them my lukewarm.
I love that. I think it's such great tips. I think most of us want to feel like we're friends with the people that we're going to invite and that we seem friendly. I think it's such a great, genuine way to actually build a business.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of people talk about how the hey girl messages don't work anymore. They don't necessarily have to say hey girl, but they're still hey girl messages. It's just like, that's just like a, treat. That's just like a wide way to call a message that you talk to somebody. So having something in common with them or finding something that you like about their page to talk about right off the bat is a good way to touch base, because then they know that you're paying attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Sarah. This is awesome. Everyone's been saying like this is such a great call, such great tips, and I think that's the best thing, is giving coaches tips that they can go implement in their business today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. And you guys, don't make it complicated. It's not complicated. It's just consistency. That's the hardest part. So just go for it. Like, don't be afraid. And I tell my team that every single day, and they're doing awesome. And we work together. We have a chat. We talk every day. So just go for it, you guys. We're all capable of it.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you. And we'll see you guys all on next week's call. Bye.
Did anyone take a picture?
I'll put it back on the big screen if you guys want to pick. Get out your phone.
All right. 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, got some. Yay, bye.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.